Welcome to Bound to Shift, the inspiring book chat in conjunction with the Shift Sisters podcast. Here, we explore transformative stories and powerful books designed to support you through life's inevitable shifts. Whether you're navigating change, seeking growth, or looking for fresh perspectives, our curated selections are crafted to inspire development and ignite your inner strength. Join us as we dive into heartfelt conversations, meaningful insights, and practical tools to help you embrace change with courage and confidence. Because when you are bound to shift, every chapter becomes an opportunity for renewal and transformation. Let's embark on this empowering journey together. Welcome back, Shifties. We are once again diving into our book chats around 13 Original Clan Mothers by Jamie Sams. And I'm really enjoying this Bound to Shift book chat, Jen. How about
Mhm.
you?
I love it. I'm like, why didn't she name it the Moon Mothers?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like, I am so connected to the moon, and everything about this is related to the moon cycles. We release this around the full moons, um, and clan really type term represents like a tribe or a group and things like that. And in this book, she doesn't really talk about groups in that or tribes in that aspect, you know? So I'm like, well, it's my Moon Mother's book.
It sounds so like fluid and beautiful. And it's like,
Hmm.
is it my moon mother? Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
I love it. So for this episode, we're going to focus on Moon Mother, Listening Woman,
Hmm.
and the focus is on the fifth moon cycle of the year, so May's moon.
Hmm.
And as we know, every Moon Mother is related to a color, and this Moon Mother's color is black. Moon Mother just like flows off of my tongue, like
See?
it's
I
just like
know.
I like how that sounds.
Hmm.
So her color is black. So before I talk about the significance of black, what does that color conjure up for you, Jen?
Confidence,
Mhm,
stability, strength,
mhm.
um, opportunity,
Yes,
and you can't have the light without the dark.
girls. Yes, I love it. For me, I think about New York City because
Mhm.
this was my black was just my uniform.
The power.
Yes, for sure. But I think about expansiveness. I think
Mhm.
of um rest when I think of black. I think of calm. And I also think of like sophistication.
Oh,
Something about it,
totally.
just
Totally.
it's just so sophisticated. But
Hmm.
let's see what the spiritual significance of black has. So
Okay.
the color black holds deep spiritual significance across many cultures and traditions. And I'm going to name a few interpretations.
Okay.
So, number one, protection and boundaries.
Mm.
Black is often seen as a shield, symbolizing protection from negative energies or influences. It can represent setting boundaries and creating safe spaces for healing. What is interesting is that black can also like represent negative, right? Like,
Mhm.
so it's interesting how it's here considered a symbol of protection. So when you think of like black tourmaline, that
Mhm.
stone to hold on to as protection. And I remember when I bought a black tourmaline, the person that sold it to me mentioned that if pieces of it fall off, that means that it's doing its job, that it is protecting you and your energy. So,
Interesting. When I get acupuncture, when you're laying on your back, she
mhm.
puts the black tourmaline underneath the palms of your hand while
Mm.
you're getting your treatment so that all that stuff can empty into it.
Oh, I love it. Awesome.
Hmm.
The next one is mystery and unknown. So, black embodies the mystery of the unseen, the unconscious, the depths of the soul. It encourages exploration of hidden truths and inner darkness to find enlightenment. Just like you said,
Hmm.
you can't have the light without the dark. So,
Hmm.
Transformation and rebirth. In some spiritual contexts, black signifies, the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new transformation. Much like
Mm-hmm.
darkness of night precedes a new dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Absence and stillness. Black can symbolize a state of stillness, emptiness, or neutrality, fostering reflection, introspection, and grounding. I
Well,
like.
yeah, because if you're in a room that was pitch black, your ass is not going to be running around it like a hamster. You're going to be
That.
like, oh, God, I need to sit still,
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely. I love that. Power and authority. The color black is sometimes associated with strength, authority, resilience, reminding us of the power within and the importance of self-awareness. I definitely feel stronger when I wear black. I feel like I could take on the world. I feel like a
Mm-hmm.
superhero when I wear black sometimes. So,
Interesting.
yes. And then finally, mourning and respect. In many traditions, black is worn to honor those who have passed and to show respect, acknowledging the cycle of life, death, and spiritual transition.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I remember as I said to you, my mother wore many years of
I was
black.
going to say, how long was it? You said it was like 10 years or something. It was a
Oh,
long
it was
time.
she was really, really heartbroken. And I remember, when I was able to start wearing color again, because we didn't wear for the 10 years. For us, it was the first year that we had to wear, but it's just, a deep reverence and respect for that person. So,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So, overall, Black invites us to confront our inner shadows, embrace mystery, and prepare for renewal and transformation on our spiritual journey. So, as I said, these color reflections,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so much to think about. And I love the fact that it can help with kind of power and resilience and thinking about the stillness of it too. Like you said, we're not running around in a dark room. We're really
Yep.
sitting and being present. So,
Mm-hmm.
love that. Wonderful. So we are going to dive into Listening Woman and all of her wisdom and just some of the concepts that come up in this chapter. Before we get started, as always, Jen, I invite you to help us through the poem. So if you mind reading that for us.
Sounds good. Echoes of the ancestors ride the winds of change, voices of the creatures calling out my name. Singing spirits on the breeze, the crashing of waves to shore, the pounding of earth's mother's heart, teach me what to listen for. In stillness before dusk and dawn, hidden messages are set free. Like the chants of my people, their rhythms speak to me. My ears can hear the music and my heart can understand. Clan mother of Taiaway, I am yours to command. I listen for your whispers on a course you will chart, searching for the still voice that lives within my heart. This reminds me of when you get up before you're fully awake and you start journaling in your dream journal,
Yes.
right? The stillness before the dusk and dawn, hidden messages are set free.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, just like looks far woman in her dream state, thinking
Mm-hmm.
about how there's so much wisdom in that kind of dream state, that in between state of awakeness and dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
In this chapter, Listening Woman teaches us to listen to all of the viewpoints represented in our world, to learn that harmony can be found through allowing each form to have its sacred point of view. So, how does recognizing and honoring sacred points of view in others influence the way we approach conflicts or disagreements? So, does that concept ever help you when you think about, a disagreement that you have with others?
Well, I often find it's not always apparent to understand the point of view where someone's coming from. And that's where typically I find that the miscommunication comes into play.
Yes.
And that's what kind of builds the barriers. And so I learned that really when trying to learn the autism language and the way the brain works that way. Because once we discovered that my husband was on the spectrum, because we could never figure out where our miscommunications were coming and how we got there and where it came from. And then once we figured out he was on the spectrum, I really spent a lot of time learning how does the autistic brain process, right? How do they see things from the view? And then I learned in many situations, I still don't understand where he's coming from for, different viewpoints. And so I had to learn to ask and say,
Yeah.
you know what? I feel really confused on our disconnection here. Can you
Mm.
just explain to me, like, how you're seeing this or understanding it? And then it would be great because it made him reflect in the moment to really understand himself where he's coming from. But then I could approach our conversation differently and bridge it by knowing that. And it has helped us tremendously. And it has been, um, I don't want to say it hasn't been easy, but it also hasn't been hard. It's just been just different, right? Just a different way to remember to ask for that clarity.
Well, you're giving me another tool in my toolbox because I've never thought to ask for clarity.
Mm,
It's always like, you take someone at face value or
mm-hmm,
what they're saying to you,
mm-hmm,
and if it doesn't make sense, I would just be like, well, I guess that's the way they approach it, and then
mm-hmm,
have my thoughts around that. But the idea to say, like, can you share with me more about how you're seeing it
mm-hmm,
is something that I can implement. Yeah, I can implement with my family,
mm-hmm,
with the people that I work with. I think there's so many things, I would like to see other people's point of view, but I don't think we get the full point of view because
mm-hmm,
sometimes people show what they want to show,
mm-hmm,
or people show what they think you want them to be.
mm-hmm.
And I love the, like, diving in with more questions
Yeah,
to give that opportunity. So
yeah.
that's yeah, I putting that in my toolbox, that's for sure.
Good.
Do you use that with, with others? Is it just,
I have used it a lot with Charlotte, not
Mhm.
so much with Ashton because he's very good at communicating that up front. Um, but I will use it with Charlotte. She's 11, almost 12. And, when you're a kid, sometimes it's hard to grasp all the going ons of everything and why your parents are approaching things. And I even will say to her, let me tell you how I'm seeing things,
Right.
and explain it to her in a different way so that she can kind of go along with the process, right? But then I say to her sometimes, I feel like we're seeing things differently, and I'd like to see where you're coming from in this because I may be overreacting. Can you tell me, like, what you're feeling about all this? And she is an extremely emotional person. I think that she's definitely got a touch of the tism too, in a sense, because it represents differently in girls.
Mm,
But I have found that she communicates so deeply and beautifully through typed expression. And so often, if she's too overwhelmed or can't really just get it out, because sometimes looking at somebody can paralyze you
yeah.
when you're trying to communicate. And so I'll either have her go in her room and journal
Mm,
and let her say whatever she wants, and there's no getting in trouble. You can say absolutely anything you want and you can share it with me, or you can, or you don't have to. It's whatever. But I like to email her, and I will email her a few questions sometimes,
mhm.
and she just pours out her response, and it helps me to really understand maybe where she's confused on or how to connect with her better. But you never
Yeah.
know what's going on in someone else's head. You just don't know what you don't know, so you have to ask.
Another thing to add to my toolbox, email,
Mm-hmm.
correspondence, because it's true. It's like you're learning, or what's the best approach for that particular child, which might
Yeah.
not work for your husband or your other children or all of that. I love that you are so in tuned with that and you're able to use it as your communication style.
Yeah, I try because I see what's a barrier, right, with
Yeah.
someone, and then I look at the alternative. Like my
Sure.
husband has a huge challenge with hearing, listening,
Uh-huh.
and if he reads it though, he comprehends so much. So there will be like patterns and habits that he would do around the house that would make me nuts. So I'd get a sticky note and I would write the same message, but then it caused me to write it down in a positive way because
Sure.
I'm writing it. You really get to see what you're saying when you write it. And I would put it in the spot or on the item or whatever was of topic. He would read it and never have a problem with it again
Yeah.
and do what I needed because he needed to read it, not hear it.
Yes.
So,
That's yeah. So like it's so fascinating when you see that. And I think one point that I do want to also add to the conversation is um I was formulating these questions for this chapter and I thought to myself, listening is important,
mm-hmm,
but also what is the objective of the people in the conversation, right?
mm-hmm,
Is it to be correct? Is it to be
mm-hmm,
right? Or is it truly to grow and to learn? Is it truly to communicate? Because I'm not going to lie, there are times where I'm just like, I am right, I am correct, and there is no other way. I cannot hear any other way because this is the way to do it.
mm-hmm,
And then I realized, well, there's nuance to all of that. There's feelings to all of, whatever the topic is.
mm-hmm,
So, as important as listening is, I think it's also important of this like the ego, like letting go of the ego so that there can be deep listening. So there can be that deep connection and also that give and take, right?
mm-hmm,
Because if you're so stuck in your ego, if you're so stuck on being right, that's what you're fixated on, as opposed,
mm-hmm.
let me truly understand and comprehend what this other person is saying.
And at the end of the day, especially if you are able to tell your ego to step aside, it I don't think it's ever about right or wrong, right? Because if you are accurate about a situation,
Mhm.
you're really just trying to help someone else level up or to
Mhm.
think differently or to improve their life or whatever. The only reason you're trying to share an accuracy and help them to align with that is because you want to connect more or you want to help them in some way. It's not because you want to hear them say, okay, you're right. Because
Mhm.
if you really think about it at the end of the day, that's really what it is. You
Right.
don't have, I know most people don't want to just be told they're right. You know what I mean? It's something deeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, thinking about these concepts, in what ways can we listen to diverse perspectives, promoting harmony in our communities and personal relationships? So, you talked about the ways of writing it down and emailing Charlotte, and I was talking about also releasing the ego. And there was a circumstance that happened in my professional world recently where I had to share my discontent with my team.
Mm-hmm.
And I am of the like, pull up your bootstraps and a lot of grit and just, this is what it is. And I decided to take a different approach to my sharing of my discontent of a meeting that I had with my team. And essentially I said, I understand the feeling that you have. So the feeling is valid, and if you are not happy with something, I want you to talk to me about it. But I am disappointed in your response
Mm-hmm.
and how you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I shared that information, it was a lot of defending.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just joking, and I was just, I was nervous about it, and that's how it came out. And all of that I on a logical sense understand, but I have a need to share with you what I was feeling, and whatever you were thinking or what you were feeling inside did not come across.
Mm-hmm.
So your communication made other members of the team feel a different way.
Yeah.
So I want us to take accountability for that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm not discounting your feelings because your feelings
Are
are so,
valid.
and let's talk about it. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are nervous about it, let's not use a defense mechanism that deflects to other people
Mm-hmm.
with your feeling that you're feeling. So
100%. And I look at it in the aspect of I don't want to just say politics. I just want to say worldviews, right? Because it's not really about politics. It could be about um, like important environmental things,
Yes.
that are people are super passionate about. It could be about political stances. It could be about health things. It could be about a lot of things. And I honestly genuinely love hearing different people's thoughts about things. Not an argument, not what do you call it, a sermon. I don't want to be preached
Yeah.
to. I don't want you to enter into a conversation thinking that we're going to be right or wrong, or there's going to be a unity of something. I love the differences of thoughts and opinions, even of cultures and rituals and things like that. I love to hear how people think because that's how I expand my mind, right? I had a friend um, who was very politically different than me.
Sure.
And and I say that lightly because I'm not really that political.
Hmm.
Um, I just want really kindness and basic human rights for everybody, right? But I was not as involved in understanding politics and the going ons of different governors and political people. And I enjoyed being enlightened by what she knew and what she researched and how she came about it because it made me, or even world events, things I never even knew about. She would share with me. And I really appreciated that conversation and enlightenment. In no way, shape, or form did I ever feel like I needed to conform or to agree or whatever. It was just interesting information. And I wish more people would be open to just having healthy discussions and not making things a war, not making things you have to think my way or that way about anything.
Hmm.
We've lost that art of conversation and differences, accepting differences.
1,000%. And I think that's the ego piece, right? It's
Sure,
like,
true.
I am right, and I'm righteous in this
Mm,
feeling.
true.
And I would love there to be, when we were growing up, people would just come over to the house, or we would go over to people's houses, and they would just sit and talk for hours. Like
Yep.
the elders, right, would come together and they would just talk and talk and talk.
Yep.
And they still were, family members. They were still friends. They, even though they didn't believe in things, it
Yep.
didn't shut it down where there was just all this animosity of like, I can't be with this person because
Yep.
they voted wrong, or I can't, talk to this person because they're not of my religious affiliation.
Hmm.
And I just feel like I miss that. And I miss witnessing that. I miss
Yes.
witnessing people just come together and just sit around with a cup of coffee and just talk for hours and hours and hours.
I literally just had this conversation with Adam when I was trying to explain something to him. I was in this just quiet, peaceful state for a week. And, he's looking at me like from around the corner of the room and he's like, oh my God, is she okay? Because, like, she's not even quiet in her sleep. I don't even know what's going on right now. I'm freaking out. Do I say anything? Do I not? How do I help
Yes.
her? And he was like, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm really good. And I was trying to explain it to him. When you would go to travel to another state and you would go stay with your aunts, uncles, grandmas, whoever, and you're a little kid and you get up and it's early for you, but
Hmm.
the elders have been up at the kitchen table for hours and
Yes.
they're sipping on coffee or they're sitting on the front porch or whatever, and they're literally just so peaceful in just genuine connection and conversation. And as a kid, it's like a warm blanket of energy that you walk into the room and they're all like, oh, good morning. Did you sleep well and stuff? But it's an instant community. There's this weird, in a positive, not weird, but like comforting energy and peacefulness about the slowness of
Yes.
that connection and conversation of no matter what they were talking about. And even as a kid, to walk in that room and not be a part of that conversation is so comforting. And that was the space and the energy that I was in. Everything's calm and quiet, and it's just good. And I'm having that comforting conversation within.
Mm.
And yes, there is a lot of comforting conversations. So I agree.
And it's some of the, when we went to Puerto Rico, we went in 2015 when my grandmother passed, and I remember we were sitting in the we were in the home, that she lived in, and we were looking out, and there was a person cutting down an avocado tree,
Mm,
and I was watching the whole dynamic, and the neighbors came out and they were talking about it, and then they were helping each other, and they were doing the whole thing, and then they were and I just sat there and I watched it, and I also just felt like this is what life is about, right?
mhm,
And they had like drinks for one another, and they were just talking afterwards, and they were there for like an hour, and I just sat on the outside looking at all of that, and I said, we don't do this enough,
mhm,
right? Like, we don't come together and just sit around and talk. We don't make meals for one another. We don't just have that community sense. And once again, I disagree with you. That's okay. And
mhm,
we can just move, we can keep on for that. But to hold it on as like a notch of
mhm,
this person is not in my circle because of, and something that's so um manipulated, like, politics or, other things. It's just like, this isn't something that I would say, are true facts, right? Because we only
mhm,
get certain information. It's not even the full information. So I think this chapter is inviting me back to creating that in my world.
mhm,
I can't do it for everyone, but I
mhm.
can do it in my little circle of, let's
Correct.
come together, let's have a coffee and let's talk, and
Yep.
just let it be that.
Mhm.
Ah, wonderful. So, another question that I have is, can you think of a time when truly listening to someone's viewpoint changed your understanding or helped foster greater respect? So, can we cultivate this open mindedness or listening in today's life? Do you think that's something that we can do now?
We can do anything we want to do if we
Right.
actually put intention behind it. We're only limited by our laziness, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yes, it can foster we can foster it, and, it can improve your relationship on so many levels. I mean, look at the difference of me and my husband of just understanding how he views and understands something.
Right.
Like, it's so different. I don't know if there's, I love personality profiling and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if there's ones on different types of brains, right? About
Mm.
the way we process things.
Yeah,
Because, you know,
absolutely. And I think, as I think right now, it's also finding like-minded folks that are interested in doing this, because my hope is that my overall hope with all the work that I'm doing and the podcast and all the things in my life is just creating community
mm-hmm,
and leveling up, as we talked
mm-hmm,
about, right? So
yep,
just being able to sit around, to talk, to listen, to grow, to be curious. That's the other thing. I don't I hope I don't come across as knowing it all, or any of that. Like, I really truly would like to learn more. And before this episode, I was talking to you, Jen, about my deep diving. Like, sometimes when I get into something, I just am so hungry to learn as much as I can about it, and I will just go down the rabbit hole because I'm curious. And I think
mm-hmm,
part of us has lost that sense of curiosity. Like,
absolutely.
I'm fascinated by your son Ashton,
Mm-hmm,
and when he engages in some sort of topic, he is the expert. Like,
mm-hmm,
I'm floored by all the things that he knows, just because of his curiosity. And then, of course, there's nothing holding him back. He's
yep,
not going to just like read a book on it. He's going to do all the things and reach out to experts and do this and do, like, I love that about him. And I
yep,
think the vibe I'm looking for.
Well, once you learn how to learn,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
And I feel like, sorry, I am a little prejudiced. I
Mhm.
do not think our public school systems
Mm,
teach critical thinking, and they do not teach you how to learn. They teach you how to memorize.
right. Right.
And so I think that that was probably one of the better things that came out of our chaotic homeschooling, because I was a shit homeschool mom, I tell you that. Whew. My mess made him, in a sense, go, screw this. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm going to figure it out. And unfortunately, through my undesired shortcomings, he was like, I want to figure it out. And it made him hungry. And he is amazing. It's not often where I feel like I'm the dumbest person in the room. And it's not that he ever makes anyone feel dumb, because he does not. He
Absolutely.
leads with such love and compassion and loves to share information. But dear God, I can't tell you how many times my eyes have glossed over because I don't understand a damn word that's coming out of his mouth
Ah,
sometimes, because he is
yes.
just so deep.
Oh, yes.
So deep.
And
Hmm.
I just sit there and when you guys came to visit last Christmas and we were all together and I was like, Ashton, tell me more. I just can't,
Hmm.
I can listen to you all day. And
Yep.
then he, was talking to my mom, my 80-year-old mom, and was
Hmm.
just so kind and asking her questions about her life in Puerto Rico and, what she missed about it and what was important to her
Hmm.
because he was learning and he was
Hmm.
really interested in hearing her story.
Yep.
So we need so many more Ashtons in this world where,
Amen to that.
yes,
I
where
agree.
they just come with that curiosity and hunger and really just
Hmm.
want to share. It's
Yep.
not about, I'm this pompous, I know it all kind of
Yep.
feel. So
Yep.
I love that. Um, so listening woman, she knows that humans do not know how to express their feelings. Some humans may lie to cover their fear of retribution or punishment, and some people tell lies to feel included or important.
Hmm.
But all people who speak untruths are detectable if we develop the art of listening. So I'm going to get into this whole concept of lies and listening and things. But how can developing the art of listening help us discern when someone is expressing their true feelings versus when they're maybe holding back and telling lies?
Well, I actually have been on my whole life's journey of having Charlotte, trying to teach her this, because I taught my boys in a different way.
Yeah.
But I don't want her to learn how to listen to people's energy and body language and unspoken words through trauma experiences. I don't
Mm,
want her to learn that because she's been abused. I had to experience a lot of things the hard way, and that is where a lot of my wisdom comes from. But if I can share that with her without telling her the negative things that I went through, because it's not age appropriate at this moment, but let's give an example. She's very much into horses.
mhm,
And where I was in a homeschool group, and there was a business, a horse riding business, that was promoting their riding lessons and things like that. Very inexpensive, which was out of character for any other place around here. And I thought, we'll go check it out. Well, I don't leave my kids anywhere by themselves, with strangers. And so we signed up, we went to go experience it, and instantly, the person providing this lesson and experience, red flags everywhere, through the
oh,
words, through the body language,
mm,
through just a ton of things that I, from trauma experience and wisdom, can see all of the red flags, right?
right, right.
So at the end, I talked to Charlotte and I said, what did you think about it? Right. So, of course, she's talking about everything that was great because of the horses and this and that. And, and I said, okay, now what did you feel on the inside
Mm,
about the instructor?
mhm,
And she's like looking at me like, what the freak are you talking about? And I said, how did you feel in your body about that person in general, right? Did you feel safe? Did you feel, and I kind of went through the whole thing. And this person was an extremely touchy person, which
Oh,
was a huge red flag as well too. There were so many things that was like grooming and setting children up to be comfortable with so many things that are not appropriate. And I said to her, "Did you notice the amount of touches and the places that you were touched and so on and so forth?" And I said, "Have you ever had a horse lesson by any other person that you had that same experience?"
mhm.
You know, again, something she didn't think about. So
Yeah.
she's processing all of this stuff. And I said, "Do you think that that's an appropriate thing for any adult that doesn't know you to do as a teacher in a school or in an art center, anywhere?" And just trying to kind of help her to connect. And these are the things that will help her to build her inner listening,
Mm,
right? Let
mhm.
me look at the physical signs. Let me look at the energies. Let me look at the behaviors because kids are naive, right? They don't know, but they have to be led on how to listen. Just like in this book, she had to be trained on how to learn to hone these senses and skills. And I want to do the same thing for my child so she doesn't have to learn it through trauma.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows you that listening is not just the words. It's looking at, the pauses, the facial expressions, the proximity to your body and their body, like all of those different nuances.
Mm-hmm.
And in that lesson to Charlotte, it's really pointing out that on the surface, the horses were great and everything was fine, but just let's look a little deeper
Mm-hmm.
and let's see what was presented to us, and let's just break it down a little bit, that critical thinking piece.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it is definitely something that I am um honing in on when I have my conversations with folks, because how many times have you met someone and there's nothing necessarily overtly wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but you just feel the "Hmm, like why is my radar going up a little bit here?"
Yeah.
And sometimes even through their body language can tell you a whole bunch. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've experienced that so many times in my life with people. There'll be certain people that just like folks just love them to death, and it just doesn't sit right with me. And my detector is super spot on. It
yeah,
always has been, unfortunately, because I grew up in a super intense and dangerous and traumatic home. I had to learn how to survive, right? So you learn all of these things. And there's so many people that I'm just like,
yes,
other people don't see it. And I'm
yeah,
not on a mission to make other people see it, but I adjust accordingly for myself.
absolutely. So, thinking about that, what are some practical ways to cultivate better listening skills that allow us to recognize underlying fears or insecurity in others' words? And I'm going to start because
Mm-hmm.
um, I think what I tend to do is fill in the gaps. So, I will fill in the gaps with my thoughts, or even oh, that was said because of blah, or as opposed to just stopping
Mm.
myself and really seeing what's being presented. You know?
You mean like you'll give like a quick reasoning as to why something was?
Right,
Okay.
right. Because sometimes I've met people that, share with me, like overshare their whole life story. This is all the things that have happened to them, all the negative that's happened to them, which is, kind of a precursor to trying to excuse some of their behavior.
Okay.
And I, as I'm older and maturing and thinking about all the relationships I've had, I'm like, well, if I just stopped and not filled in the gaps for them or given them the benefit of the doubt or any of those things, I would have seen on day one, on day two, day three,
Mm-hmm.
through their words and also their actions, that they weren't as genuine as one would expect. And I think that is definitely a lesson that I'm carrying on. Like, my husband is the total opposite. Sweet as honey, so wonderful, but when he picks up on something,
Mm-hmm.
he's right,
Every
100%.
time.
And I'm like, well, they just had, an interesting life, or well, they have a hard time, expressing themselves. And I'm here giving them the benefit of the doubt and then realizing, you know what, honey, you are right. And now I have to figure out a way to kind of release from this person. So,
And I think for you, you might have developed this filling in the gaps from the career that you're in,
mm,
because when you are looking to fill positions, you have to be realistic that not everyone's going to be perfect in
right.
all angles of their life, but are they capable of doing the job and the task at hand? And you have to almost, I don't want to say justify, but like, fill in the gaps as to the other things that you're seeing
Mm,
to make sure that they're justified for the job still. And I think that that might be part of the development of that. But you're right. That's where Michael and I connected. When I'm serious, that was the light switch when he was like, uh, talking to me about what about
mm.
this person, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, thank you for saying that. I felt the same thing, but I just was not sure because no one else was saying it.
Yeah,
So,
yes. And it's one of those things that I'm really looking at, looking at him, and I wouldn't take that approach. I would be more forgiving.
mhm,
And I say to myself, that's so healthy. Really, because why am I cultivating, developing someone, or a relationship, whatever you want to call it, with someone that is just going to be an energy suck?
mhm,
And not that everyone is like that, but it's just, I just have to listen, and also honor the kind of the feelings, the energy that comes from that.
mhm.
All right. So, in what ways can understanding the reasons behind untruth, such as fear or desire for importance, transform our responses and deepen our connections with others? Does that help you when you know that someone has gone through, or is in that kind of vulnerable state when listening?
Um, it helps me to adjust my approach.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I might, doesn't necessarily mean I'm not going to approach with the same things. I just might have a different approach with those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, Charlotte would, we had a couple issues with her fibbing on different situations because she gets really overwhelmed, and then the fear kicks in and it like takes over her brain, and it can be over the smallest thing. And then she's, not telling the truth about something. And of course, I can see it. And we have to really dissect as to what's underlining under that and the approach in the lesson, because not always is it just, hey, you're grounded. That doesn't really fit the situation. Let's dissect this and to see why you instantly became fearful,
Mm,
and why did you instantly choose to lie, because there was a fork in the road and you did have to make a decision, which mean it was a conscious choice at that point. And so, even for situations like that, we reflected on some of the, clan mother's wisdom in this situation, and tried to find some different approaches into teaching the lesson of building that good character and making decisions, honest decisions, even in overwhelming and hard moments.
absolutely. And I love that you called in the clan mothers
Mm,
when dealing with this with Charlotte. And it's just also kind of a message to our listeners that you can use the concepts here in the third
mhm,
clan mothers, and just hone in with, your children, or with anyone really in your
mm,
life. I'm also utilizing some of these teachings in my professional career, because I sometimes may not be the best listener, because I'm trying to keep everything together. I'm
yeah.
trying to keep, business going and things like that. And I think when I have those opportunities, I should take more advantage of that and really listen to some of, my colleagues' fears, or what they're concerned about when it comes to these professional decisions. So it's just wonderful how these teachings can be used across the board.
Hmm.
So my final question is, When we think about this chapter and we see the relationship between silence, listening, and wisdom, how can embracing silence enhance our ability to hear and understand others more deeply? And
Say that again.
so, how can embracing silence
Mm-hmm.
enhance our ability to hear and understand others more deeply? And I think for me, this is the piece that takes the chatter out and the ego out. So I am, and I've said this so many times, I like efficiency. I
Mm-hmm.
like I have a problem in front of me. I want to get it done. I want to take care of it because I'm going to have something else coming.
Yeah.
And, and I tend to think I have the solution immediately. And I think that the silence piece of it helps me to clear out the mental clutter,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes, listen, yesterday I just needed like I I called you, Jennifer, and I'm just like, I just need a snack all day every day. Like and I was going through, I don't know if it was hormonal changes. I don't know if it was like energy shifts or what.
Yep.
But yesterday I was in a very needy place. And
Mm-hmm.
I would think that if something came up on my desk yesterday, I may have had a different experience today with that same conflict, because yesterday I was just emotionally in a different place. So I think the silence really helps with clarity, and it
Mm-hmm.
helps to kind of release all that clutter so that I can really look into what am I hearing right now with this dynamic. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the wisdom emerges after the silence.
It is. And so, like, for example, last week, Adam was out of character, and I could tell that he was off in some way, and I didn't know, you know, what it was exactly. And I said, is everything okay? Is there something going on with you? Or is there something on your mind? And he's all like, no, I'm fine. And so I said, okay, I want you to close your eyes right now. And of course, he's like, what? Close your damn eyes. So he closes his eyes, and I said, all right, now we're going to take some deep breaths. And I had him take 4 deep breaths. And I said, I want you to ask yourself what's going on with you right now, and just listen to what comes to mind. And he did it. And you could see he was kind of like processing. And then he shared with me what was going on. And he's like, wow, thank you so much for making me do that. He said, I didn't even realize that that was kind of like underlining what was bothering me. He's like, it was really interesting. But you have to have those people in your circle, right? That also know how to see your blind spots. And I might not be able to force you to figure it out and tell me what it is, but it really wasn't about me needing to know. It was really about him needing to know, because I could see he wasn't, aligned with whatever was going on, and whatever was going on was disturbing him, and he didn't even notice it.
Mm-mm.
But he was able to have that moment of silence, maybe
Mhm.
forced silence, but he
Mhm.
had silence. We all need time out from now, every now and then. And he figured it out.
Yeah. And you see how that wisdom that you have was able to help him.
Mm,
It's outside of you. It's not you. It's not your ego. You were able
yeah.
to see that. You were able to support that. So that's just so beautiful, in this chapter, how that can help us,
Hmm.
support us and the ones around us. So
Yeah.
as we close up this circle, I want us to just have kind of a closing reflection or a closing thought. So, coming to the end of the exploration of Listening Woman, may we carry her gentle wisdom into our daily lives. Let us remember that true listening is not just about hearing words, but about opening our hearts and minds to the sacred point of view of all beings. In honoring silence and patience, we open the door to deeper understanding, harmony, and healing for ourselves and the world around us.
Hmm.
So, if this chapter has resonated with you at all, I have a few invitations for some shift activations, and I
Okay.
have a few of them. So, And this is just in the world of deep listening. So one of the shift activations that I invite you to is a daily listening practice. So what I'm challenging you to do is to choose one person. So and it could be anyone. It could be someone in your family, it could be a friend, it could be someone at work. And listen to them without interrupting, without offering advice. So simply allowing them to express themselves fully and reflect on how it felt for you and what you've learned. That's going to be a challenge, my friend.
What was the one? Not Blue Goose. What was the other one?
Running water.
Yeah, because she had to shut up for 13 months.
Girl, this is just one
And I
conversation,
have to do it in
Jennifer.
one conversation? Oh,
One conversation. So,
okay.
yes, take the time and choose that person and just listen. So, number two is silent observation. So, spend 10 minutes in silence. Observe your environment, your own thoughts, and observe them without judgment. Notice what you hear, feel, and see beyond just words. So as you just sit there, just take in, just receive. Do not, there's no output, there's nothing that you have to do. Just receive and then notice how you feel after that.
I do that one a lot by the pond.
Yes. And
Hmm.
that's a beautiful space to do it.
Very healing.
Yes. Number three, attend to nonverbal cues. So during your next conversation, pay close attention to body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions to deepen your understanding. To just take notes of it. What do you see? Did you see an eyebrow raised? Did you see someone laugh a little more than you would expect? See what comes up after that.
Me and my husband, because with him being on the spectrum, they don't, there's a thing, it's called being face blind. They don't understand facial expressions. They don't even see micro expressions. They don't understand body language unless it becomes a special interest, of course. But we will watch shows
Mm,
to study. Some will pause and I'll say, "What did you notice out of this?"
yeah,
Right? Did you see that micro expression? This is what that said. And he's like, "Oh, he thinks I'm a magician." He just is like, "Oh my God, how do you see all this?" And to me, it's everywhere. It
yeah,
is so loud. I'm also called the thought police because I can hear your thoughts, I can see your body language, your micro expression. So, yeah, you can study doing it. Like if you don't even have a person to do it with, watch somebody on your show.
yeah.
Pay attention to their micro expressions or their body language and see what it's saying.
Absolutely. And it's to really deep dive into this, keep a journal of that. Keep a journal
Mm,
of your moments when you're deep listening and if it's changed your perspective, if you've learned a new micro expression,
mm-hmm.
if you notice, with the folks that you are close with, is there something that you've missed that you haven't in the past, right? So I think that the challenge here is to quiet down, is to really observe. Like it's like active listening almost, where you're observing, you're not saying a thing, you're taking the ego out of it, and you're seeing objectively what's in front of you. And I think it's a wonderful exercise to just test your abilities for deep listening.
Number one. Yeah, I'm gonna have to practice that one maybe a couple times.
Oh, it's a hard one. And in this world where we're dealing with people, and your family and work and just everyone, it's just you want to be sure that, is there something that's missed, because there's opportunities there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a micro expression of something, or you could feel the hesitation. How many opportunities have we missed where we could say, I could just feel that was heavy. Can we talk about it? Or, I just noticed that something shifted in you. Can we talk about that? So I think it's a wonderful tool just in the development of the self.
I love it. Thank you for that.
Yes. So shifties, if today's episode spoke to you, we'd love to hear more about it. Maybe share some of your shift activations. Maybe share with us, how you are deep listening in your world or with the people around you. So talk about it. Send us some information on our social media. Leave us a review if you felt like this was a episode that really spoke to you, or anything that landed for you on this book chat. On social media, you can tag us at hashtag Shift Sisters Podcast. And if you also enjoyed this, share this with a friend. So we would love for you to build our community as we are continuing to kind of reach out to all of the folks that are interested. So thank you again for joining us on this sacred conversation. Until the next full moon, keep shifting, keep growing, and above all, keep listening. Thanks, everyone.